What's up, guys? Picking up from the last video, we're going to take some of those reharmonization methods that I was talking about and use them to turn Creep from Radiohead into the song Fishaar that I put on my solo album, Journey to the Center of the Ear. So one thing that I haven't talked about yet is the importance of melody in reharmonization. It's called reharmonization and not harmonization because what you are doing is taking an established theme or an established melody or something like that and changing the chords underneath it to give it new life and new context. So I want to take a look at the song Creep by Radiohead and then talk about how I reharmonized that melody and then changed the melody to make a completely different song. So let's start with the chord analysis of Radiohead. So it's in C major, and we start on the 1 chord, and then we wind up moving to a secondary dominant almost immediately, an E7 chord, or an E major chord, which would normally lead to A minor, but instead does what's called a deceptive cadence, and brings us to F major. Right, and then we go a half step up to F major, and then we take the borrowed 4 from C minor, and that leads us back to C. Right, so we've got the, in context it'll sound something like. Something like that. So as I mentioned before, Creep already has some pretty neat stuff going on. From the 1, we go straight to the 5 of 6. But instead of going to the 6, we go to the 4. So we're kind of substituting the 6 already. And then we're pulling a borrowed chord from the parallel minor. And back to the 1. Now, what I did to get to the chord progression of Fishaar is I substituted the 1 for the minor 6. I went from C major to the key of A minor, and instead of going to that E, I then substituted it for a G Lydian sound. Or a G sharp Lydian sound, rather, which, when you put that underneath the E, it gives you a Jimi Hendrix chord, or rather, when you put that on top of the E, that G Lydian chord, G major 7 sharp 11, it gives you that Jimi Hendrix chord, which functions as the A7, or the E7 rather. Then coming from the G sharp chord, I kept the F major to the F minor, and then I put in a transitionary chord I borrowed from the parallel Phrygian mode to give that Phrygian cadence. I took that G minor and then back to the A minor. So with the melody, keeping the melody intact underneath that chord progression, we wind up with something like this. the exact same melody, but the feel is totally different. And we've got a completely new context for it because of the reharmonization. And so then, after I found chords that I liked, I just gave it my own melody. And there you have it. Totally different song. So I know I kind of sped through this quickly, but I wanted to illustrate the power of reharmonization, and this topic goes deep. I'm really just scratching the surface here. Substitution itself is its own discipline inside of reharmonization, which is a discipline inside of music as a whole. But basically, I was using a mixture of substitution, borrowed chords, and transitionary chords to take an established song, Creep by Radiohead, change the chords, and then give it my own melody to create a completely new song that had a similar kind of wistfulness and sadness to it. So hopefully this wasn't completely impossible to understand, and I've got examples and everything in exercises on my Patreon page, so go check those out. And yeah, hope this was helpful. Thanks a lot. Keep exploring.